And as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in great detail how He commands the honeybee to go round to the mountains and the trees to collect nectar, which is then turned into honey, about which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares, فِيهِ شِفَاءٌ لِلنَّاسِ, there is a cure for humanity in that honey. So this surah actually, from the beginning to the end, it talks about various kinds of blessings that Allah has blessed us with, in terms of the fact that He has given us so many different things that are under our control. Animals and sheep, camels, goats, even elephants, they are all under our control and they are under the service of the human. In addition to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions other blessings which I'm going to be referring to right now. There's a riwayah in which the Prophet ﷺ, this riwayah is in Ibn Kathir, a person who was a Bedouin, he came to the Prophet ﷺ and started asking him many questions, and the Prophet ﷺ, he started responding to the questions in using these verses which were revealed to him. And they were specifically about the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the humans with. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُم مِّن بُيُوتِكُمْ سَكَنًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made for you from your houses a sakan, a place of living. Now the strange thing is, the word sakan, in Urdu we say sukoon. Sukoon, what does sukoon mean? Sukoon, what does it mean?
Comfort.
Comfort, peace, right? So in Arabic, the word sakan basically means a place to live. So when you ask somebody in Arabic, Aina taskun, where do you live? The actual literal translation of Aina taskun is, where do you find peace? Where do you find peace? So maskan also means your dwelling. It really means a place of peace. And the reality is, we have so many sayings in English, right? There's no place like home, all right? The reality is that when a person comes to his home, he finds the most peace there. So he may go for a vacation and he may stay at the most expensive of resorts and hotels, 5-star or 6-star or 7-star nowadays, but yet the feeling of peace and tranquility a person gets when he gets to his house is completely different. Okay? He may have a bed which is 10 years old, but he feels more comfortable sleeping in that bed than in any other expensive bed that he might find anywhere else. Okay, so this is why the place of the house in Arabic is called sakan. It is from the word sukoon, because a person finds peace there. So however humble that house may be, it may be just a 1-bedroom apartment or a 2-bedroom apartment, but still the home is the home. So he finds peace there. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُم مِّن بُيُوتِكُمْ سَكَنًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for you from your houses peace or sakan, or a place of dwelling. And the A'rabi, the villager, when he heard this, he said, Naam, yes, that is true. And the Prophet ﷺ continued, and he said, وَجَعَلَ لَكُم مِّن جُلُودِ الْأَنْعَامِ بُيُوتًا تَسْتَخِفُونَهَا يَوْمَ ظَانِكُمْ وَيَوْمَ إِقَامَتِكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made for you from the skins of animals. And again, something we take so lightly nowadays, the fact that an animal gave its life for us. An animal gave its life for us, and we eat the meat of that animal, and we use the skin of that animal. Okay, so Allah is mentioning here that He made for you from the skins of the animals, the leather of the animals, houses, meaning we use those skins for tents and so on, تَسْتَخِفُونَهَا, that you can carry around easily. You find them very light. يَوْمَ ظَعْنِكُمْ وَيَوْمَ إِقَامَتِكُمْ. Whether you are in travel, or whether you have stopped your travel and you're residing at a place, but those tents that are made from animal skin, they give you refuge. وَمِنْ أَصْوَافِهَا وَأُبَارِهَا وَأَشْعَارِهَا أَثَاثًا وَمَتَاعًا إِلَى حِينٍ. And then on top of that, those same animals, you use the wool, the hair, and the other components of the animal, the hair and the wool, etc. For what? For other things. For clothing, and for weaving and so on. Sweaters are made from the wool of the animals. Again, that animal, it's giving up part of itself so that you can benefit from it. Another blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You made from these things athathan wa mata'an ila hin, goods and benefit until a fixed time. And the ayah continues, and all the way the Bedouin continues to say to the Prophet ﷺ, yes, yes, that's true, that is true. The ayah continues, Wallahu ja'ala lakum mimma khalaqa dhilala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made for you from what He created shadows, meaning shade. So again, whatever the form of that shade is, whether you're underneath a tent, or whether you're in an air-conditioned house, or whether you're in an apartment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you shade. So many forms of shade that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. وَجَعَلَ لَكُم مِّنَ الْجِبَالِ أَكْنَانًا. Some people who live in mountains, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them with caves so that they could take refuge within the mountains also. So even people have found refuge in caves. وَجَعَلَ لَكُمْ سَرَابِيلَ تَقِيكُمُ الْحَرَّ وَسَرَابِيلَ تَقِيكُمْ بَأْسَكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made for you garments that protect you from the heat, and made you garments that protect you during the time you fight. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again, He gave us different types of garments. Sometimes you have garments for the heat. We have cool cotton clothes nowadays. Okay, and also we use, nowadays we have new technology, which the sports manufacturers make to make their shirts and so on, that even though that shirt gets wet, it still stays dry. Okay, this technology was, the intelligence for that technology was given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we have that, clothing which protects us during the cold months. Okay, the wool and the leather and the thick clothing, the padded clothing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enabled us to make those things for the cold months. But in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only mentions the heat. Okay, why? Because obviously in those days the people used to use, and even nowadays in the hot desert, you protect yourself from the heat and the sandstorms by covering yourself completely with the clothing. Okay, so that's why when people are in the desert, they have the obviously the jalabiyah that they're wearing, but they also, sometimes when the sun is blowing, they have to cover their whole head with the scarf, so that the sand which is blowing doesn't hurt them. And that at that time, the wind that is blowing is very, very hot indeed. And that can also scorch the skin. It is so hot. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions specifically the heat. And also, He gave you the ability to make armor to protect yourselves during warfare. Nowadays, we even have bulletproof vests which protect a person from bullets, made out of Kevlar, right? So again, that intelligence was given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all the time again, this Bedouin kept on saying, yes, that's true, yes, that's true. At the end, Allah says, كَذَلِكَ يُتِمُّ نِعْمَتَهُ عَلَيْكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُسْلِمُونَ. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completes His blessing for you, so that you would submit. After pondering over these blessings that Allah has given us, what else can we do but submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And say that, oh Allah, you gave us all of these things. You gave us protection. You gave us our houses. You gave us shade, protecting us from the heat and the cold. You gave us comfort in our homes. You gave us comfort in our families. The least we can do for you is just do what you want us to do and lead our life in your obedience. That is the least that we should do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at this point, the Bedouin, he got up and walked away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse, فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ. If they turn away, then, O Prophet of Allah, your responsibility is just giving the message. Openly giving the message. Okay, so we have to do the same thing to everybody. Give the message, try to explain to them the blessings that Allah has created, and hopefully they understand and they submit themselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many people will not understand. They may turn away and not accept Islam. يَعْرِفُونَ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ ثم ينكرونها وأكثرهم الكافرون. They recognize the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and yet they continue to deny them. And most of these people are kafirun. Kafir can have two connotations. One, they are disbelievers, or they are ungrateful. Okay? In both cases, basically, they can be actually synonymous with each other, both words. Because ungratefulness leads to actual disbelief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, in any case, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want us to understand from this? Look around. Think about the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, and be grateful to Him. And gratitude entails that we spend our life in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next verse I want to talk about is a verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, first of all, the verse before that. There's a story that Uthman ibn Mat'un was a Sahabi. He came and sat with the Prophet ﷺ in the masjid one day, and while he was sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet looked at him, and he looked up at the sky, and then he looked back down again. And then he did that a second time. Okay? So Uthman is wondering what's going on, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I saw you doing this. What happened? He said, while you were sitting here, this verse was revealed to me. And it's a verse that probably each one of you is familiar with. Whenever we have the Jummah khutbah, at the end, the Khatib, he says this verse. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He orders people to do justice and to make ihsan, to do good for people, and to give to the relatives, and He prevents from immorality and evil and transgression. يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is advising you so that you may take heed. So there are different points that we need to think about. First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word adl first. First and foremost is justice. And then after that is the word ihsan. Justice comes before ihsan. Okay? When a judge passes a judgment in a case, he doesn't put across the ruling of ihsan. Okay? He gives the ruling according to what the Islamic ruling is. And then after that, the victim of the crime, he decides whether he wants to do ihsan or not. This is what Islam teaches. First is adl, then after that comes ihsan. Similarly, in the case of inheritance, many people think that, okay, I have a good relationship with my brother. If I take his share of the inheritance, he's not going to mind. Well, that's not how it works. First, you have to be just. You have to distribute the inheritance first, and then after that, if he wants to be kind to you and he wants to give his share of the inheritance to you, then that's up to him. Justice comes first. In the case, for example, of capital punishment, a person murders somebody. Okay, the judge will pass a judgment if the person is guilty that he is going to get capital punishment, and then the option is given to the victims that you can either take blood money or you can forgive the person completely. So, but first the ruling is that the person has to be killed for the sin of committing a murder. Okay. After that, the choice is given to the relatives whether they want to do ihsan or not. So adl comes first, and then ihsan comes after that. And sometimes we flip the equation. Okay, we flip the equation and we say, okay, somebody does bad to you. Well, first you forgive. No, you need to know what your rights are, and then after that, after knowing what your rights are, then you forgive. And actually that may be even more rewarding for you, that despite knowing what you could have got from that case, you were forgiving. So that is something that is more pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then after that, Allah says, وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى, to give to the relatives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to give to the relatives. And sometimes that's even more difficult than giving to strangers. Why? Because in whichever family you're in, there are always going to be some form of politics. Okay, some kind of history. You did this to me 10 years ago, and I've never forgotten it. You never came to my son's wedding. I've never forgotten it. Okay, we hear this all the time in our families, right? Now that same person who has a grudge against you for 10 years, now he needs something from you, and he comes to you. You say, now you want to take something from me and ask something from me and ask a favor from me. and for the past 10 years, you've been bothering me about that wedding that I didn't come to. Okay, so ita idil qurba. That's where you have to step on your nafs and give that person whatever he wants and fulfill his need. This is what is meant by giving to the relatives. Okay, so the relatives, and of course the Prophet ﷺ said that when you give to your relatives, it is a double reward. You get the reward of sadaqah if the person is needy. You can even give zakat to your relatives, except for your parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, etc. Other relatives, you can give zakat to them if they're needy. But when you give zakat to them, you also get the reward for silatul arham, which is enjoying good relationships with your relatives. So you get a double reward when you are doing this with your own relatives. So ita idil qurba. وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He forbids from fahsha. Fahsha means immorality. And immorality is a specific type of sin which is related to lewdness. And nowadays, we can just sum it up in one word: pornography. Okay? Which is prevalent everywhere on people's computers, smartphones, everywhere. We need to understand that this is becoming pandemic to a point that people are becoming addicted, and it's creating huge problems in families. It's creating divorces. So this is something that we need to understand. We have to get out of our systems if we are involved in something like this. It contaminates our hearts, it contaminates our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it destroys our households, it destroys our Islam from within. We don't develop any khushu and connection with Allah. We don't feel like making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is all as a result of a person being involved in this type of activity. So this all falls under the word al-fahsha, immorality. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then He talks about sin in general. Wal-munkar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids you from munkar also, and al-baghi, transgression, which is also a type of sin. Ya'idukum, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is advising you so that you may take heed. After that, there's a mention of a woman who used to be in Mecca, and what she used to do, she used to weave a cloth all day. And then at the end of the day, what she used to do, she used to unravel the whole thing that she had woven. Okay, so for example, we have our grandparents or old people in our communities, they like to knit, right? So just imagine that the woman has been knitting the whole day. She made a piece of cloth or a sweater or something for you, and then at the end of the day, she takes it and she basically unravels it all, and she's left only with the thread. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want to tell us from this story? Allah says in the following verse, don't become like this woman who does the weaving all day, and then at the end of the day she basically unravels everything. What does it mean? What it means is that we do so many different types of deeds. Okay, we go out of our way, for example, to wake up in the morning to come for Fajr prayer. Okay, and we go out of our way to make sure that we fast the whole day and we are hungry and thirsty. But as soon as we pray the Fajr prayer, we go outside and start backbiting about somebody. We start slandering somebody. The whole effort that we made basically becomes unraveled just like that. Just like that woman who unraveled that cloth at the end of the day. Okay? The same thing, we fast all day and then we engage in haram after breaking our fast. Or we eat something which is from haram means or haram sustenance, or at the end of the day or during the day even, we backbite, we look at something wrong, we listen to something wrong, and the whole reward of the fast basically becomes unraveled just like the cloth of this woman. Specifically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in these verses the issue of fulfilling promises and covenants. Okay, that's the specific wording that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses, but in general you can say for any deed that a person does, it's just like that unraveling of the cloth. Basically all the effort goes to waste. So this was towards the end of Surah An-Nahl. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq to understand and practice what is being said and heard.